Kuan Yew once said, having education is one thing, being educated is another thing. Dear all, let me today cover the topic which basically everyone in our country has to go through before entering the labor market. I would like to first give some feedback and background about what is going on in higher education system sphere in our country, and then concentrate on 5 problems what we have in this sphere and provide my personal feedback as well as my reflections and my experience and some facts which I heard from my friends from various universities in our country. So no one can deny 2 facts. The one that more and more Kazakhstani students each year who graduate from high schools tend to migrate to other countries in order to pursue high quality education. The ones who are left in Kazakhstan are basically from regions, for instance, they cannot afford such expensive education and they tend to migrate to Astana or Almaty, so they don't tend to stay in their regions studying at universities. To compare with Germany, where I'm studying right now with scholarship, in Germany, there are many lands, which you can see here on the map, and I'm studying here in Hessen, and each land can set their own standards of education, which leads to the fact that these lands have some kind of freedom, academic freedom, and can somehow change the standards and make the programs more up to date. Of course, this degree of freedom isn't the same as we have, for instance, in the USA, but still this is much better than in Kazakhstan, which has still some kind of Soviet heritage in higher education system. So this is basically the outline, and this leads to the fact that German students, for instance, they don't have such a big rate of migrating inside and outside their country, because if they're born in some region, like not in Bayern here with good universities, or in Berlin or in Hessen with good universities, they can still visit their universities, local ones, and know that their education will be not much worse. It will be pretty of the same quality. Let me first come to the first problem, and this is Kazakhstani students' rights are not well represented. What I mean is that we don't have such organizations as Studentenwerk, like German one, which we have here, which provides me with available food in canteens, with some leisure activities, some discounts, and many more things for having really quality life here. For instance, I have my transportation here all over this region for free during my semester, and my education costs only 700 euros per year, which is cannot be compared with the prices in Kazakhstan. And also the living conditions are very different, as you can see here in the photo, because many students in Kazakhstan still live 4 or even 6 of them in very little room, while in Germany and Europe, students have only personal like rooms and apartments, so they don't usually live with somebody else. Second problem is that Kazakhstani students' scholarship is equal to, for instance, as an example, to dog insurance in Germany. So just to compare the amounts. And in Germany, students have so many ways of supporting their studies. For example, they have their local BAföG organization, which covers all their expenses during their studies, both on any levels, or may it be bachelor, master, or PhD. And they only have to cover the half of these expenses when they graduate. Also, they have Erasmus for going outside, for exchange semesters, diplomas for studying abroad, and so on. Third problem is that critical thinking approach isn't appreciated so much in our country, higher education institutions and universities, and in many ways, students still have to learn something by heart, which isn't productive because this information is outdated very fastly, especially during nowadays when each day we have like so much more information. Fourth problem, our students in many cases, apart probably from some English-speaking universities and programs in Kazakhstan, don't have an opportunity to choose their own schedules and subjects. For example, I'm here and I don't have to choose, I don't have to visit like any obligatory lectures because I don't have any obligatory lectures here. If I don't like some professor, I would like the way he teaches, or I don't like the subject itself, then I just don't have to visit this, and there is no obligation for me to do this. But in many cases in Kazakhstani universities, students are just obliged to visit some certain lectures, so they don't have some kind of motivation and they don't really know what they want then, what to study and what to choose. The fifth problem is corruption, plagiarism, and the fact that bachelor master thesis can be bought from like some independent person who would write all these works for you. So what is the sense of such an education if you didn't really put efforts into this like 3 years, which is like a pretty long period of time. And when you didn't write all these works yourself, then it means that you wouldn't be able to provide your own personal feedback and prove your point of view by means of researching some topic, like researching some sources, international sources which are recognized in your sphere. So do some kind of your own research when you start working, which you'll face like each day during your work. And in the end, let me come back to the quote of Kuan Yew. And as you remember, his quote was that having education is one thing and being educated is another thing. And coming to our Kazakhstani students, to a big number of our Kazakhstani students, can we say that our students who have education from our Kazakhstani universities and institutions are truly educated? I'm not talking, of course, about like many students, because we have some really good programs and universities, but still I'm talking about like 80–90% students who are from regions, for instance, and so on. So let me thank you so much for attention and to this really important topic. Thanks.